A 13-year-old girl steps onto a drop tower ride. 3 seconds later, her life changes forever. In 2007, at a crowded amusement park in Kentucky, a snapped steel cable turned a perfect summer day into a nightmare. This is just one of the 5 most horrifying amusement park accidents in history you may have never heard of. Each tragedy forever changed how this industry operates. Every year, over 400 million people in the United States visit amusement parks, trusting that they and their families will be safe. Today, the rate of serious accidents is extremely low thanks to decades of technological improvements and strict regulations. But to achieve the current level of safety, this industry has paid a painful price. Behind every safety regulation, every inspection protocol, is a real story of tragedy that changed everything. Today, we'll explore 5 accidents that reshaped how the entire industry approaches safety. From mechanical failures to fire disasters, from human error to invisible dangers. Each story reveals what happened, why it happened, and most importantly, the changes it created to prevent tragedy from repeating. The first story begins on a summer day in 2007. Case 1. Superman Tower of Power. On June 21, 2007, 13-year-old Caitlin Lassiter arrived at Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom with her family for a perfect summer day. The Louisville amusement park was bustling with visitors seeking to escape the summer heat. Caitlin had been eagerly awaiting this trip for weeks, especially excited about the Superman Tower of Power, a 177-foot tower, the park's signature attraction. The Superman Tower of Power operated using a complex steel cable system. Passengers sat on a circular gondola with their legs hanging freely. Steel cables pulled them to the top of the tower, paused to build suspense, then released them in a controlled freefall. Safety harnesses only secured the torso and shoulders, with no barriers for the legs. Caitlin waited in line with her family, watching previous groups scream with excitement. Staff performed routine safety checks, ensuring all harnesses were properly secured. Everything was completely normal as Caitlin's group was loaded onto the gondola. The tower stretched high above, and she could feel the excitement as the ride began its slow ascent. At approximately 40 feet above ground, disaster struck. One of the main cables suddenly snapped under tension, creating a whip-like effect as the severed cable lashed across the gondola. The steel cable, moving at tremendous speed and force, struck multiple passengers before they could react. In an instant, the moment of excitement turned into absolute horror. Caitlin suffered the most severe impact. The cable caused serious injuries to her legs, changing her life forever. Other passengers screamed in terror. Staff immediately halted the lifting mechanism and began lowering the gondola. Emergency medical personnel responded quickly, applying tourniquets and beginning life-saving treatment while preparing to transport Caitlin to the hospital immediately. Remarkably, Caitlin demonstrated extraordinary calm despite her severe injuries. She remained conscious, even asking about her condition. This is not just a story about equipment failure. This is a story about human strength in the face of unimaginable tragedy. The other passengers, though not physically injured, were deeply traumatized by witnessing this accident. The Superman Tower of Power was immediately shut down. The investigation revealed shocking findings. The cable had been severely worn and should have been replaced long before. Cable inspection procedures were not rigorous enough to detect the dangerous level of deterioration. Caitlin survived but faced lifelong challenges adapting to her permanent disability. Six Flags reached a settlement with the family for an undisclosed amount. The ride was permanently removed from the park. This incident led to critical industry-wide changes. 3 key lessons emerged. 1. Much stricter cable inspection schedules with clearly defined replacement standards are now mandatory. 2. Redundant systems for critical components like cables became required in new ride designs. 3. Maintenance documentation significantly improved, requiring detailed records of all inspection and maintenance activities. The accident at Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom became a watershed moment for amusement park safety standards across the entire industry. Regulatory agencies nationwide strengthened requirements for inspection frequency and documentation. Manufacturers began designing with more redundant systems and fewer single points of failure. These systemic changes ensured that what happened to Caitlin was less likely to happen again. But this is just the first story. The second takes us back in time, to an era when safety standards were still rudimentary. Case 2. Big Dipper. Derailment. The second incident takes us back to 1972, to a time when safety standards were very rudimentary. On May 30th, families across London flocked to Battersea Fun Fair to celebrate the holiday weekend. The amusement park along the River Thames had been a beloved destination for generations of Londoners seeking thrills and entertainment. Among the most popular attractions was the Big Dipper, a classic wooden roller coaster that had been delighting visitors since 1951. The 21-year-old ride, with its traditional white-painted wooden structure, represented the golden age of British seaside entertainment. The Big Dipper was a testament to post-war optimism, reaching speeds of approximately 35 miles per hour and carrying up to 20 passengers per ride. On this busy holiday weekend, the Big Dipper operated continuously with minimal downtime. Long lines of excited passengers waited their turn. Many visitors had ridden the Big Dipper countless times over the years, trusting in its long safety record. Operators followed standard procedures, loading passengers into train cars and securing the simple lap bars. As the fully loaded train climbed the first major hill, passengers could see across the Thames and the London skyline. The mechanical chain lift carried them steadily upward with its characteristic clicking sound. Everything seemed perfectly normal as the train crested the first hill and began picking up speed. Squeals of delight rang out from passengers. Then, as the train approached a banked curve at high speed, catastrophic failure occurred. A critical section of the wooden track structure collapsed without warning, unable to support the dynamic forces of the speeding train. The lead cars immediately derailed, leaving the track entirely and plummeting toward the ground. Passengers were thrown from their seats as the cars tumbled and crashed into the support structure. The wooden framework shattered and collapsed under the impact. 5 lives were lost instantly, while 13 others sustained serious injuries ranging from broken bones to severe trauma. The screams of the injured and terrified witnesses filled the air. Emergency services arrived quickly, but the tangled wreckage of wooden beams, twisted metal, and overturned train cars made rescue efforts extremely difficult. Some victims remained trapped beneath debris for hours. What had started as a perfect holiday had turned into one of the worst amusement park tragedies in British history. But the critical question remained: how could a ride operating for 21 years suddenly collapse like this? The investigation revealed a disturbing pattern. The 21-year-old wooden framework had rotted severely due to years of exposure to moisture and natural elements. Regular inspections failed to detect the serious extent of structural weakening. No professional structural engineers regularly assessed the integrity of the wooden framework. Maintenance records showed basic repair work had been performed, but there was no comprehensive assessment of the structure's lifespan. The Big Dipper accident led to fundamental changes in wooden roller coaster maintenance. 3 key lessons emerged. 1. All wooden roller coasters now must undergo regular structural inspections by qualified engineers using modern testing technology. 2. The lifespan of wooden structures must be assessed and plans made for replacement or major repairs before deterioration reaches dangerous levels. 3. Detailed maintenance records with photographs and technical reports became mandatory, creating a traceable line of documentation. The Battersea Fun Fair tragedy prompted the British government to establish stricter nationwide safety standards for amusement parks. Older wooden coasters had to be recertified or closed if they couldn't meet new standards. These changes spread across Europe and influenced international standards. This 1972 accident remains a stark reminder that aging structures require careful oversight and continuous investment. The first 2 incidents involved mechanical and structural failures, but the third case reveals a different and perhaps more frightening threat: fire. Case 3. Haunted Castle. Fire. The first 2 incidents involved mechanical failures and structural deterioration. But this third case reveals a different and perhaps more frightening threat. Sometimes the greatest danger doesn't come from what moves, but from what we cannot see until it's too late. This is a story about fire, smoke, and the catastrophic consequences of ignoring fire safety regulations. On May 11, 1984, Great Adventure Amusement Park in New Jersey was enjoying a busy spring evening. One of the most popular experiences was the Haunted Castle, a large walk-through haunted maze designed to deliver fear and thrills to visitors. This attraction was especially popular with teenagers seeking scary moments in the darkness. The Haunted Castle was not a permanent building but rather a semi-permanent assembled structure, built from connected trailer sections wrapped in wooden frames and flammable decorative materials. Inside, the attraction featured a maze of dark corridors with costumed actors and special effects. The walls were padded with foam, and furniture and decorative props filled the space to create a scary atmosphere. The maze-like design of the Haunted Castle created a frightening experience during normal operation, but in an emergency, it became a death trap. Exit routes were limited and difficult to find. The building lacked a sprinkler system, smoke detection equipment, and adequate emergency lighting that would have been required in structures housing public attractions. These three critical safety gaps would prove fatal. Shortly after 6:30 in the evening, a small fire began in one of the foam-padded walls deep inside. The exact cause was never definitively determined, but investigators suspected an electrical malfunction or discarded cigarette had ignited the highly combustible foam materials. Within minutes, flames spread rapidly through the interconnected rooms and corridors, fed by abundant flammable decorations. The building quickly filled with thick, toxic smoke. Visitors inside initially thought the smoke and heat were part of the show, as special effects were commonly used to enhance the scary atmosphere. By the time people realized they were in genuine danger, the smoke had made visibility nearly impossible and the fire had spread extensively, blocking many of the limited exit routes. The maze-like interior designed to confuse visitors became a death trap as panicked people desperately tried to find their way out. The group of 8 teenagers became separated and lost in the burning maze. Despite the efforts of emergency responders who arrived quickly at the scene, all 8 young people lost their lives due to smoke inhalation before they could be rescued. The victims ranged in age from 15 to 18, their lives cut short by a preventable tragedy. This exposed serious gaps in amusement park safety regulations. The investigation revealed numerous serious safety violations. The structure had been approved as a temporary building, but had operated for years without meeting permanent building codes. The foam materials were extremely flammable and produced toxic smoke. No sprinkler or smoke detection systems were installed. Exit routes were inadequate and not clearly marked. Emergency plans and staff training were insufficient. Criminal charges were filed against park officials. The incident led to comprehensive reforms in fire safety requirements for all amusement park attractions nationwide. The tragedy at the Haunted Castle became a turning point that fundamentally changed how the industry approaches safety. But the most important message from this case isn't just about regulations, it's about human responsibility. The first 3 cases showed equipment and structural failures. The final 2 reveal the factor most often overlooked: the human element. The Haunted Castle fire led to fundamental changes in fire safety requirements. 3 key lessons emerged. 1. All amusement park buildings, regardless of temporary or permanent classification, now must meet strict fire safety standards including sprinkler systems, smoke detection, and emergency lighting. 2. Construction and decorative materials must comply with fire-resistant regulations, with strict restrictions on highly flammable materials. 3. Clear exit routes with illuminated signage are mandatory, even in dark attractions intentionally designed to disorient guests. The changes made after this 1984 fire have saved countless lives in the decades since. Modern haunted house attractions are now designed with safety as the top priority. Fire safety regulations in amusement parks today are among the most comprehensive standards in any industry. The first 3 cases showed different types of failures. The final 2 reveal the factor most often overlooked: human error and invisible dangers. Case 4. Worlds of Fun Maintenance. Incident. The first 3 cases showed how equipment can fail, structures can weaken, and fire can spread. But even with all modern safety technology and regulations, the most dangerous factor in any environment remains the potential for human error. This 4th case illustrates how a simple communication breakdown can lead to tragic consequences. On June 7, 1981, Worlds of Fun Amusement Park in Kansas City was operating under typical summer conditions. The park's signature roller coaster, the Orient Express, had been thrilling visitors since its opening with a unique design featuring multiple inversions and high-speed elements. William Heathcote, a 20-year-old seasonal maintenance worker, had been working at the park for several weeks. Like many young people working summer jobs, he was eager to prove himself reliable and thorough. William was assigned to perform routine maintenance inspections on various rides, checking track conditions, mechanical components, and safety systems. On this afternoon, he was conducting a routine inspection of the Orient Express. Standard protocol required that all ride operations cease completely before any maintenance personnel entered restricted areas around the track. Multiple safety procedures were in place: communication systems, physical lockout procedures for ride controls, and clearly marked boundaries. The Orient Express continued to operate normally with trains full of passengers completing their circuits. Something went catastrophically wrong with communication and safety protocols. William somehow gained access to an area immediately adjacent to the active roller coaster track, placing himself directly in the path of speeding trains. As one of the Orient Express trains rounded a curve at full operational speed, it struck William with tremendous force. The impact was instantly fatal, causing severe trauma that could not be survived. Passengers on the train experienced the horrific shock of witnessing this tragic accident. Ride operators immediately initiated emergency shutdown procedures upon realizing what had occurred. The train was stopped as quickly as possible, and emergency services were summoned. The immediate aftermath sent shockwaves throughout the amusement park industry. Worlds of Fun permanently closed the Orient Express and conducted a comprehensive review of all safety procedures. The investigation revealed critical failures in communication systems and safety procedures that should have prevented any maintenance worker from accessing restricted areas during ride operation. Criminal charges were considered, though the focus ultimately shifted to implementing systematic changes that would prevent similar tragedies. This incident led to industry-wide reforms in maintenance safety protocols. 3 key lessons emerged. 1. Mandatory lockout-tagout procedures now require physical locks and warning tags on all ride controls before personnel can enter maintenance areas. 2. Improved communication systems between departments ensure that everyone knows when maintenance work is occurring and rides must be stopped. 3. Enhanced training requirements for all personnel working in proximity to operating rides, emphasizing safety protocols and the consequences of failing to follow them. William Heathcote's death became a catalyst for fundamental changes in how amusement parks approach worker safety, establishing standards that continue to protect maintenance personnel to this day. These changes remind us that safety isn't just about technology. It's about communication, training, and ensuring everyone understands their role. 4 cases so far have shown different types of failures. But the final case reveals another frightening truth. Sometimes the greatest dangers are those we cannot see. Case 5. Action Park Electrocution. The final incident reveals a type of silent, invisible danger that makes it particularly terrifying. There's no snapped cable to see, no smoke to smell, no shaking structure to warn of trouble. This is a story about electricity, an invisible but deadly force that can turn a fun water attraction into a death trap in an instant. Action Park in New Jersey had become infamous in the 1980s with a reputation as America's most dangerous water park. The park boasted thrill rides unlike anywhere else. But behind the excitement was a troubling safety record that earned the park unofficial dark nicknames: Traction Park and Class Action Park. One of the attractions was the Kayak Experience, an underwater area designed to simulate kayaking through artificially created rapids, powered by strong pumps and complex electrical systems. On July 24, 1982, an 18-year-old young man participated in the Kayak Experience with his friends. The cool water and thrilling current promised a perfect afternoon. Other visitors had been through the attraction all day without incident. Staff monitored the steady flow of people through the channel. What no one realized was that a serious electrical fault had developed in the attraction's underground electrical system. Exposed wiring or damaged equipment had begun leaking electricity directly into the water. Water is an excellent conductor of electricity, and once current began flowing through it, the entire body of water became electrified. There were no visible warning signs. The water looked completely normal. No smell, no sound, nothing to indicate the deadly hazard hidden in every drop of water. As the young man moved through a section of the channel, he suddenly became unresponsive in his kayak. Friends nearby initially thought he was joking. But when the kayak began to drift and he didn't respond, they realized something had gone terribly wrong. Staff rushed to intervene, but he had lost his life to electrocution before he could be pulled from the water. The subsequent investigation confirmed that an electrical malfunction had caused his death. This incident was not the first death at Action Park. The park had witnessed multiple serious injuries and fatalities throughout its operating history, leading to countless lawsuits and increasing regulatory pressure. The investigation revealed inadequate maintenance of electrical systems, lack of proper ground fault circuit interrupters, and insufficient safety inspections. Action Park ultimately closed in 1996 after decades of controversy. This electrocution death and other incidents at Action Park led to critical changes in electrical safety standards for water parks. 3 key lessons emerged. 1. All electrical equipment operating near or underwater now must have multiple layers of protection, including ground fault circuit interrupters, waterproof housings, and redundant systems. 2. Regular electrical inspections by qualified engineers became mandatory, with detailed documentation of all inspections and maintenance. 3. Emergency shutdown protocols require immediate power cutoff if electrical problems are suspected, along with emergency procedures to safely rescue anyone from at-risk areas. Action Park's ultimate collapse marked the end of an era when amusement parks could operate with minimal oversight. The story has become a case study of what happens when profit is prioritized over safety. Modern water parks today operate under some of the strictest safety standards in any industry. The 5 incidents we've explored reveal different types of dangers, but all share a common theme. Each tragedy was preventable. Now let's synthesize the most important lessons from these stories. Legal actions, criminal investigations, and public pressure created momentum for meaningful improvements. When organizations know they will be held accountable, they invest in safety. If you found these stories educational, please hit the like button to help more people learn about amusement park safety history. Let us know in the comments. Have you ever had an experience at an amusement park that made you concerned about safety? Many viewers have shared their personal stories about amusement park accidents or near-miss situations in the comments. These first-hand experiences help us understand the importance of safety protocols and why constant vigilance is necessary. Subscribe to the channel to explore more little-known historical stories from real events. Our next video will examine a completely different type of accident that changed safety regulations in another industry. Thank you for watching.